What's cracking, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. New video. Today I want to talk about how prison made me a man. Now, before I can get there, I got to go back a little bit, right? I grew up in a very violent and dysfunctional home up until I was around 10 years old, right? At a very, very young age, because of the way, because of the violence, the beatings in my home, I developed at a very young age this mindset that I was alone in the world, that I needed to fend for myself because that's what I had been doing. And I believed that all authority figures were out to get me. They were only out to punish me. They were never going to help me. They didn't help people. And so that formed, that belief, it formed my manners and my habits, the way that I acted, the way I interacted with people, and the view I would take on any interaction that I was involved in, right? So I started going to jail when I was 13. I went to juvenile hall a bunch of times. Then I was sent out to a group home, right? I completed that. It was a 6-month thing out in Riverside County. Came back. Then got into some stuff. I get sent to camp. I escape. I'm out 5 days. I think it was 5 days. Picked up a serious case. Went to juvenile hall, 45 days. Then they sent me back to camp. I escaped again. Me and my homeboys, both times I was with my homeboys. Escaped again. I was out exactly 2 months. Picked up a whole bunch of cases. And then this was in 1989 by now, I get sent to the California Youth Authority, where I do a little bit over 3 years. By 15, I was doing state time. California Youth Authority was prison for juveniles. Now, whoever I thought I was when I was a little kid, whoever my group of friends, my homeboys thought I was when we were kids, when I went to juvenile hall the first time and I got out, I had a different, people looked at me different. I was doing jail time now. Remember, we're kids. I was doing jail time now. So I was looked at different and I felt different. Instead of me learning a lesson from going to juvenile hall the first time, it became a badge of honor in the neighborhood for a kid. So going back to jail didn't matter to me. It was just further validation that I was a gangster. Remember, I was a kid. Going to the California Youth Authority. Back then, that was like the epitome of being a gangster when you're a kid. You go to YA and you make it. That was gladiator school. You were tested mentally and physically on a damn near daily basis, right? So I go in there and I make sure I'm representing my neighborhood to the fullest. I'm getting down with people all the time, right? And then, like I said, after a little over 3 years, it's like 3 years and a month or something like that, right? I parole. And I parole with a chip on my shoulder. There's nobody as bad as me. I'm that guy in my mind, right? And so it's no wonder that I was only out 5 months, picked up a hot one, I took someone's life, and for the first 9 months of my incarceration in the county jail, I was fighting the death penalty. Luckily, on a 995 motion, the special circumstances of lying in wait were thrown out, and we pretty much knew that I was probably going to get a second-degree murder. That's what I was going to get found guilty of, and I did. Got busted when I was 19 for that case. At 20, I get a life sentence. I get sent off to prison, right? And you guys need to understand that growing up as that troubled kid, that hurt kid, I believed that going to jail was what I was supposed to do, was what real gangsters did. So going to prison for life, I was fulfilling the destiny that I had created within my own mind, my own heart. So I go to prison. And I've talked about this a lot. Prison is full of killers. Very, very dangerous men. Prison is also full of the biggest victims in the world. And I don't mean victims because as an ex-convict, that's a very fucked up word. You will get into some stuff telling somebody they're a victim. But I want to put it in context. For a long time in prison, when I would get a new Sally, you know, and you talk about your case, hey Holmes, yeah, this, especially when you're young. When you're older, you're not wasting your time on that. But when you're younger and you first get in, especially if you're in the cell with another youngster, you talk about your case. Your Sally talks about his case. And every time you talk about your case, you blame everybody. It was your victim's fault. It was the police's fault. It was the DA's fault. It was the jury's fault. It was the judge's fault. But it's never your fault. And that's what I mean by prison is full of the biggest victims. Because they don't hold themselves accountable, most, for their actions. I was one of them. Everybody is, especially when they first go in. And so, by me being able to justify everything that I had done to hurt people, that allowed me to continue to be able to justify the things that I was doing. I remember when I would be in positions where I had some say-so, and if somebody had to get whacked, I would justify it as, we all have a job to do. You failed to do yours and made me do mine. Further justifying the victimization of people, right? When I lost my mom, when my mom took her life, prison it was no longer something in my mind. It was just something like, this is where I am. Prior to that, I had thought the things that we were doing in there, they were necessary. They were justified. And unfortunately, at times, I thought they were fun. After losing my mom and realizing that I couldn't mourn, I had to be the same person. It put me in a really dark place to where I went even harder than before. Because I was trying to justify what she did, blaming herself for my incarceration, so I needed to be even worse in there. And for some years, I was. I remember different times where cops made comments about me having the devil in my eyes. Those of you that have been to prison, you know when you meet certain people and when you look in their eyes and they have that blackness in their eyes. And I remember 2 different occasions where cops mentioned that to me about my eyes. You know, you're doing your thing, like, fuck you talking about, right? But then there came a point where I had to really look at who was the problem. Because there was one common denominator every time I got arrested. And that was me. It wasn't until, and it wasn't, the only reason why I was able to do this, develop this insight, was because of my incarceration. And I wanted to make this video because there are still people that feel like if you get incarcerated for taking someone's life, you should never have a second opportunity at life, at freedom, at society. And I strongly disagree. Ever since SB 260 went into effect, which was the youth offender bill, thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of lifers have been released from California. Prior to that, you were going to die. If you had a life sentence, it didn't matter if you had a life with the possibility, you were not getting out. Ever since 260 passed, guys have incentive to get out. And the recidivism rate is less than 1%. So many lifers have gotten out and become mentors to youth, changing their lives, getting them away from the criminal lifestyle. So many lifers have entered business and made those businesses better because of how grateful they were for their second chance, how hard they were willing to work for their bosses. And it's because every single one of us, every lifer, at some point realized, because of incarceration, that they were the problem. They weren't going around blaming other people. Not anymore. They stopped. And once they realized they were the problem, then they could find the solution. During my incarceration, I saw a lot of brutality. I saw a lot of backstabbing. But I also saw some of the most brilliant minds, the most beautiful artwork, the most beautiful poetry. Everyone deserves a second chance. I've already made it clear. If you have cases against women and children, those type of cases, I don't believe you do. Those people have something wrong chemically. I don't know what it is. But I think we need more people to be more compassionate when it comes to guys that made horrible decisions, most of them as teenagers. And they've been incarcerated 30 or 40 years. And they have so much to offer society. So, prison is a place for punishment, but it is also a place for rehabilitation if you choose it to be so. That's my video for today. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Everybody, please be safe, be smart, and tell the ones you love that you love them, man. I'm out of here.